The man locks the door behind him. He looks across the room at several highly trained mob enforcers. The position of every gun, every knife, the distance between the table corner and the bottles. Within 3 seconds, everything around him becomes a weapon. He presses the timer on his watch. And this seemingly ordinary hardware store employee calmly wipes the blood from his hands, as if he had just finished a task he had already calculated perfectly. His name is Robert McCall. During the day, he works at a home improvement store and treats everyone with kindness. His life follows a routine almost obsessively. Every morning, he wakes up at the exact same time, makes his bed, trims his beard, and polishes his shoes, then leaves the house right on schedule. His coworkers only know him as a reliable man, someone who patiently helps customers find what they need, and trains with Ralphie, the overweight young man at the store, making sure he cuts back on sweets. Because Ralphie's biggest dream is to pass the test and become a security guard. In everyone's eyes, McCall is just an ordinary coworker they can trust, but no one knows that these habits come from a past he has completely buried. He plans every day down to the smallest detail, not because he wants to appear disciplined, but because only by keeping his life under control can he keep the dangerous man inside him buried. McCall suffers from chronic insomnia. Every night he carries a bag of tea and goes to a nearby diner to read. Sitting in that same diner is a young woman named Alina. She is controlled by the Russian mob, forced to dress up and wait for customers every night. Yet she still dreams of becoming a singer. McCall never asks about her business, and he never judges her. He only reminds her to eat less sugar, because it could affect her voice. To Alina, this quiet older man sitting across from her may be the only person who truly treats her like a normal girl. That night, Alina is too exhausted to take another customer, but the cars outside keep honking. She knows she has no right to refuse, so she wipes away her tears and walks outside. McCall watches her get into the car but doesn't stop her, because he knows what he sees is only the tip of the iceberg. If he acts too soon, Alina could end up paying an even greater price. More importantly, he still doesn't know how many people are controlling her, or if she is trapped inside an entire organization she can't escape from. Restraint doesn't mean he doesn't care. It simply means this man always calculates every possible consequence before he acts. A few days later, Alina sits down across from McCall on her own, with bruises from the beating still visible on her face. She gives McCall a recording she made herself, and shares her dream of becoming a singer, a dream almost no one believes in. McCall doesn't laugh at her. Instead, he tells her that if someone wants to change their life, they first have to believe they deserve a better one. They talk late into the night and McCall walks her outside. But just as they are saying goodbye, the mob boss Slavy suddenly appears. He slaps Alina in front of everyone, then orders his men to drag her into a car. Before leaving, Slavy shoves a prostitution card into McCall's hand, mistaking him for another customer. McCall doesn't fight back right there, not because he is afraid, but because Alina is standing right in the line of fire. Any reckless move could make her the one who pays the price first. So he memorizes the license plate and their faces and watches the car disappear into the distance. Over the next few days, Alina never returns to the diner. After asking the owner, McCall learned that she has been placed in intensive care. At the hospital, he finds the girl lying in bed covered in bruises. Her friend tells him that Slavy did it to intimidate the other girls and deliberately beat Alina nearly to death, even threatening to cut her throat. That night, McCall stares at the record Alina gave him. For the first time, he can't keep his anger buried beneath his routine and restraint. He once promised his late wife that he would leave his old life behind and never become the man who solved problems with violence again. But he also knows, if he stays silent, Alina may never have anyone come to save her. McCall goes to the Russian mob's restaurant headquarters and places $9,800 in front of Slavy. He offers to buy Alina's freedom. This is the last chance he gives them. But Slavy only sees the girl as a product that keeps making him money. He refuses the deal and mocks him, saying the money would only buy 1 month of her time. McCall takes back the envelope and turns toward the door. Everyone thinks he has given up. But when the lock clicks shut, the story returns to that 19-second reckoning from the beginning. This isn't revenge driven by rage. It is the final choice he makes after realizing every peaceful option has failed. McCall sits beside the dying Slavy and tells him, refusing the $9,800 was the most expensive decision of his life. When McCall returns home, he repeatedly washes the blood from his hands. He doesn't go to the diner like he usually does, to pass through another sleepless night. Instead, he finally gets a full night's sleep, not because killing someone made him feel better, but because he finally stops lying to himself. The identity he buried years ago was never truly gone, but Slavy was only a small piece of a much larger criminal network. His death quickly caught the attention of Russian billionaire Vladimir Pushkin. He sent a real hunter from Moscow, a man named Teddy. He had received elite training during the Soviet era. Later, he became the man Pushkin sent to handle every problem that needed to disappear. By examining the wounds on the bodies, he reconstructed everything that happened during those 19 seconds and confirmed the killer had professional training to force the person behind it all to reveal himself. Teddy deliberately brought corrupt cops into an Irish gang's territory. Even though he knew they had nothing to do with Slavi's death, he killed their leader in front of everyone. This wasn't an investigation, it was a message. He wanted every gang in the city to understand one thing: when the Russians lose something, someone has to pay for it with their life. He also wanted to use their eyes and ears, to force the killer hiding in the shadows to come out. He then tracked down Alina's friend and learned that McCall had visited Alina in the hospital. The woman tried to hide more information, but Teddy brutally killed her. McCall still doesn't know the danger is closing in. His coworker Ralphie keeps working hard to lose weight and become a security guard, but he suddenly quits his job to take care of his mother. McCall visits his family's restaurants and immediately realizes the fire there was no accident. That night, two corrupt cops arrive at the restaurant, demanding protection money. They not only take their money, but also threaten the mother and son with more fires. But the moment they step out the back door, they discover McCall has recorded everything. The cops pull their guns, ready to silence him. But McCall takes them down in seconds. One of them has his finger broken. The other doesn't even get a chance to raise his weapon. For the first time, the two officers who use their badges to bully local businesses realize, once their uniforms can no longer protect them, they are no different from the ordinary people they used to prey on. McCall doesn't kill them, orders them to return every dollar they stole. Otherwise, the video will appear on the news the next day. Soon after, Ralphie returns to the store and finally puts on the security uniform he always wanted. For the first time, McCall realizes that using his old skills again doesn't have to only bring death. It can also help ordinary people take back the dignity that was stolen from them. Teddy quickly finds McCall's home and shows up pretending to be a detective to test him. McCall appears cooperative on the surface, but he senses danger from the man's tone and movements. Teddy takes out a photo of Alina's dead friend and watches closely for McCall's reaction. McCall is clearly angry, but his expression doesn't change at all as Teddy is about to leave.
How'd you find me? I paid cash. We didn't have a reservation. How'd you find me?
That's what we do, Mr. McCall.
We who?
Find people we need to find.
We who?
Those few words make Teddy realize that McCall has already figured out who he really is. They also confirm for McCall that the man in front of him is the cleaner sent by the mob. From that moment on, neither side continues testing the other. They see each other as targets that must be eliminated. Teddy pulls up McCall's employment records. He discovers that McCall's life before the store is almost completely erased, so he sets up an ambush at the diner. But the moment the assassin disguised as a worker sits down, McCall recognizes him immediately from his clean, uncalloused hands. He cuts the power to the diner. Using the delivery trucks outside as cover, he quickly escapes. He then takes down one of the corrupt cops chasing him and takes his phone. When Teddy's men break into McCall's home, all they find is an empty apartment filled with hidden cameras. The plane tickets and escape plans were all bait McCall intentionally left behind. He is hiding in a safe house across the street. Watching everyone's positions through cameras he planted in advance, Teddy quickly realizes this was a house McCall wanted them to find. Although the two men are separated by only one street, they have already completed their second confrontation. Both of them understand that the next battle is no longer about who finds the other first. It is about who can force the other to play by their rules. McCall no longer plans to hide. Instead, he travels to a countryside estate to meet an old friend who once worked in the intelligence community. Only at this point is his true identity finally revealed. McCall once carried out the most classified operations for US intelligence. Later, he faked his own death in an explosion, only to keep the promise he made to his wife and live a normal life. His friend discovers that Pushkin runs oil businesses in the United States, along with money laundering, counterfeit operations, and human trafficking, while bribing police officers to protect his empire. Teddy is the most dangerous cleaner in this entire system. His old friend knows McCall didn't come here looking for protection. He came to find out exactly what he is up against, because once he knows the truth, he will end it with his own hands. McCall first captures the last corrupt cop, Frank, using car exhaust to force him to reveal the mob's location. He then breaks into the counterfeit money factory, takes down every guard, and anonymously alerts the police, exposing the hidden operation that had existed for years. Then he destroys Pushkin's oil tanker and storage facilities, cutting off his most important source of income in America within days. McCall is no longer just seeking revenge for Alina. What he wants to destroy is the entire criminal system that traps countless women and innocent people. The constant losses drive Pushkin into a rage, and Teddy finally finds McCall's greatest weakness. He leads a team of mercenaries to take over the hardware store, kidnapping all the employees, forcing McCall to show up within 30 minutes. When McCall arrives, he doesn't enter through the front door. Instead, he uses his knowledge of the store's layout to sneak inside ahead of time. He rescues Ralphie first, then has him lead the other employees out through the back exit. After that, he shuts down the lights and blocks the exits, turning the entire store into a battlefield built for him. Every aisle here, every warehouse entrance, even the exact location of every tool, are things McCall knows better than his enemies. Teddy kidnapped his co-workers, thinking he could force McCall into a no-win situation. But he never expected that he had walked straight into McCall's own territory. Teddy believed overwhelming numbers would be enough to kill McCall. But once the lights go out, the shelves, wires, tools, and broken glass all become traps McCall has prepared in advance. The mercenaries are taken out one by one. A powerful assassin corners McCall in the mirror section. The two engage in a brutal close-quarters fight among shattered glass. McCall suffers an injury to his leg and nearly gets impaled by broken glass several times, but he eventually finds an opening and uses a shard of glass to end the fight. Worried about McCall, Ralphie takes the risk of returning to the store, only to get shot in the leg by a pursuing gunman. Even then, he helps McCall hide behind the shelves. Instead of running away alone, the young man who once needed others to protect him now begins protecting the people around him. McCall tells Ralphie to reach the power room within 40 seconds, while he leads the remaining enemies toward the break room. The moment the lights come back on, the gas device hidden inside the microwave explodes, sending the last gunman into the flames. Teddy follows him to the power room and is about to kill Ralphie, who has nowhere left to run, when a metal nail suddenly pierces through his body. McCall stands there holding a nail gun from the store. Walking slowly out of the darkness, Teddy once treated killing as a tool for maintaining order, but now, the most ordinary tool has become the thing that ends him. 3 days later, McCall travels straight to Moscow and breaks into Pushkin's mansion. The crime boss who hid behind wealth and armed guards finally dies inside his own home, only by removing the person at the top of the criminal network. Could Alina and all the others trapped by the system avoid falling into the hands of another group of criminals? Soon after, McCall sees Alina again on the street. She has finally escaped the life that controlled her and begins building a life of her own. She thanks him for saving her, but McCall knows that he cannot live her life for her. He can only give her the chance to choose her own future again. He returns to his ordinary life, but leaves behind a way for people to reach out for help online. From then on, he helps those pushed to the edge by power and violence. What the Equalizer is truly about is not simply about a skilled fighter wiping out criminals. It is about a man who once hated violence, and why he ultimately chooses to step back into the darkness. McCall doesn't believe killing can create true justice. That is why he always gives people a choice before he acts. He offered Slavy money for Alina's freedom. He gave the corrupt cops a chance to change, and he even gave Teddy a chance to walk away. But when people turn human lives into a business and use fear as a way to create order, silence is no longer kindness. It becomes a way of helping evil keep the world the way it is. True justice may never be able to save everyone, but as long as someone is willing to stand up when others are at their weakest, darkness will never become the only rule.